Talk to him that loud! What's the best thing about Go 7-0?
Let's go 8-0. Oh, I see you across the field in Ohio State. Stand there and perforate with the audience here. Rah, 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 hit the front and yell and call. Never let that team get wrong. Hail, hail, the gang's all here, son. We're not conference now.
It is time for Coach Speak, and pleased to have Ryan Day, the Ohio State head coach, with us. We got a good look at the Buckeyes celebrating in the locker room after the win over Penn State. Coach, really appreciate your time. What are you proudest of coming out of that win, aside from obviously your players' musical talents?
Right. I would say the fact that, in a matchup game, you got to find a way to win. And that's our second top 10 win in the first 7 games of the year. I think the overall passion that we played with, I thought the environment was electric. I thought our guys played tough. And was able to win the game in the second half. And, are there things that we, feel like we can grow upon here as we head into the back half of the season? Absolutely. I think that's probably what's most exciting about where we're at right now. But, in a big stage and a big moment, a lot of guys stepped up.
What are some of those things that you're prioritizing as you head into the back half?
Well, you want to identify the things that you want to enhance, the things that are going well that you got to continue to get better at as you start to, put more and more film out there. And then the areas that you got to improve on. And, there are certainly areas that we got to improve on. I'm probably not going to get into, those specifically right now,
okay.
but that's part of coming in on a Sunday and identifying the things you got to get better at, because the issues are always there. Whether you win or lose, they're not going away. And so some things we got to get fixed, some things we got to continue to enhance.
Well, one of the stories to me from this team this year has been your defense. And we talked a lot about it when Jerry and Howard and I were there for camp about how could you kind of get away from the big plays you gave up at the end of last year. You're one of 3 teams in the country that still hasn't given up a play longer than 40 yards. And particularly given how young you are on offense, it's a few key positions, and frankly, how banged up you have been. What does it say about this program and where it is that you could slightly alter your identity, maybe lead with a different side of the ball than you've led with before, and still be here considered among the very elite programs of the country?
I thought we made a lot of progress last season, but certainly learned a lot as we got into the end of the season. And, I think when you put in a new system, the first year you're learning what to do. In year 2, you're learning how to do it. And I also think Jim has done a really good job in the offseason of adapting to the conference and our players. The way that he defended teams at Oklahoma State is a lot different than what way we look now. I think that says a lot about him being able to identify that and put our guys in really good situations. But I also think it's our players. We have a much more veteran group. And like you said, we've recruited good depth. So even though we were down a guy or two, other guys were able to step up in big moments, in a top 10 matchup like that, and not small stages by any means. So if we can continue to build in all 3 phases, then, we'll be a tough team to beat.
Right. I made the comment earlier, I give you a lot of credit because as a play caller, play callers want to score touchdowns. And, defensive guys obviously trying to stop them. But as a head coach, a lot of head coaches that call plays and oversee the offense, they don't get the big picture. In that game against Penn State, when your defense was playing good, and you came back and ran the ball, 40 times in the game, that tells me that, hey, Ryan Day gets the big picture. You understand what it takes for our team to win. And a little bit like River said, your offense is young. You've had some injuries, but your win margin, I was looking at this morning because the perception is, oh, God, the offense, your win margin is the same as what it was really a year ago, 10, 12, 14 points a game. You're just doing it a little bit differently. But from in the locker room, is there a different vibe in the players, or are they just oblivious to this, just trying to win? Is there a different feeling in the locker room with your defense playing so good?
I think the biggest difference is just the confidence that our defense is playing with. And so the number one goal is to win the game. That's it. It doesn't matter how. And I felt like there was a point where we were in control on defense. And I felt like if we could, shorten the game, and, run the ball, that, we were going to win it. I didn't think we needed to score a whole bunch of points. Now, calling the plays, yeah, you want to score 40 points. And watching the film, I mean, I got sick. The fact that we didn't get in on that red zone area, or we get down to the 2-yard line, don't get in on 3rd and 4th down. Some other areas that we just, a couple penalties here and there, just not good enough. But I think that is also encouraging because I know that we can. I mean, I've seen it on film. We've got to do a better job of it. But the potential here, is great. And the number one goal, like you said, though, is to win. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is just the overall confidence our guys have on defense, knowing that we can win the game on defense.
Hey Ryan, tell us a little bit about Kyle McCord, because obviously he's new in that role. But I don't think he gets enough credit. I mean, 12 touchdowns to 1 interception. I mean, beating 2 top 10 teams. Guys, some of his main guys being hurt. We talked about that. Tell us a little bit about his personality going forward. I mean, how does he fit into this compared to some of the guys you had in the past?
Yeah, Kyle's been here for a couple years now, so he knew the system coming in, and I think that's probably the biggest difference. And he knows what big-time football looks like. He knows what it's like to go on a road and play games. He knows what has to happen in big games. He knows situational football. He knows the offense. So that I think has allowed him to grow quickly from where he started at the beginning of the year. And, I watch him grow every day, and I believe there's a lot of great football ahead of him. I don't think we've seen the best out of him yet. I think he's, his confidence is building and growing as he starts to get these wins under his belt. He's got really good weapons. We're looking forward to having a couple more back this week, and we could be, operating at full capacity. But he's got to keep growing. He's got to keep building. He's got to enhance the things he's done well. We're going to challenge him in the areas that we know he can get better at. And I know he's going to respond really well, because if he can do that, again, I think our offense, again, can be as explosive as it's ever been.
Hey, Rod, just off the football track a little bit, you know that your Uncle John and I were running buddies in Naples. I know you know that. I'm sitting there watching the game with Norv Turner, the ex-Charger coach, Washington coach, and Norv turns to me and says, boy, at the end when you won the game and everybody's fired up, and Norv says, I'll bet you Ryan's thinking, boy, it'd be nice to be on Lake Winnipesaukee right now.
That would be, yeah, that's exactly right, especially this time of year. Yeah, it'd be nice.
And
to
you know what he asked me? He
get on
says,
the pontoon.
I told him.
Have a beer or two.
Yeah, and then he asked me, and I've been up there with him, as you know, on the lake, and he said, make sure you ask Ryan if he knows if he's ever been to Ware Beach, is it? Ware Beach?
Oh, I've been to Weir's Beach before, that's for sure, yeah. I definitely have been to Weir's Beach, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Go ahead, Rever.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask you about Marvin. I think that maybe more so than any player coming out of this weekend, there was probably the most buzz about him. And again, like we've been watching this for several years now and know how fabulous he is. But when you shine like that on a big stage, you start to get a little bit more of that buzz. People are talking Heisman with him. State the case for Marvin for the Heisman. It's become largely a quarterback award. As we know, we have seen an occasional receiver, running back win it. But make the case here for why Marvin should be in that discussion.
Well, I think the award should be given to the most outstanding football player in the nation. And, statistics matter, but ultimately it comes down to, who's the best player in the country. And you're looking at a guy who, garners a lot of attention week in and week out. He's played big in big games. He's, to me, the most outstanding player in the country. You just watch the way he goes about his business, his work ethic, his talent. He's clutch. He can do so many different things. And so, I just think, he solidified himself as one of the best players in the country this past week. And as he continues to produce on the field, I think he should be in consideration for the Heisman.
Let's talk about your opponent this week, Wisconsin. They are in a bit of a flux, just in that they have a new staff, and obviously the quarterback, Tanner Mordecai, is out. What have you seen as you watch them on tape and as you prepare to go to Camp Randall, which, as you well know, is a challenging place to play?
Yeah, that's the first thing is we haven't been there before. I haven't been there before. This team hasn't been there before. So it's been 7 years. And, but we know it's a really hostile environment. Halloween weekend, night game. I mean, it'll be rocking. And they had a big win last week. Luke does a great job and always has. And so they're well coached, and it's going to be a battle. This is playing on the road this time of year in the Big Ten. And so we've got to play our best. And we knew when we looked at the schedule, this is one of those games that we were going to get challenged in a big way. So it all starts with how we practice this week and then playing well and handling the environment when we get there.
Lots of ties between their program and yours. You mentioned Luke Fickell. He's the most obvious one. How do you think some of that stuff plays into the mindset coming into a game like this?
Well, it comes down to the players. I mean, this is a players' game, and they do have a lot of ties to Ohio and Ohio State, and they're really good coaches. They do a great job, and former players. There's a bunch of those guys that are on the staff there, and so they have that opportunity because they were good players, and certainly now become great coaches. But this comes down to the players on the field, but it's our job as coaches to put them in the best situation to be successful.
Little extra incentive against the alma mater. Yeah. You know that. Speaking of which, I saw New Hampshire on the schedule for 2027. Ryan, I mean, they're 2-1 all time against the Big Ten. Do you know what you're getting into here?
I do. A lot of pride in being a Wildcat from New Hampshire, which is not far from Lake Winnipesaukee, Coach. But yeah, a lot of pride in the hometown, so that'll be exciting.
All right, it all comes back to Lake Winnipesaukee. We all know that. Ryan Day, thanks so much. Really appreciate you spending some time with us on a game week. Thanks a lot.
Have a good week, guys. Thanks.